Clinical researchers, welcome to another episode of Today in Clinical Research with Dan Sfera. So I just wanted to go through some of the news stories for you guys today. As always, leave your comments in the chat. Let me know what's going on. Let me know where you're watching from. If you're watching on the replay, leave a comment underneath. But if you're live, even better. And let me know if you heard of any news stories in clinical research or in pharma that I didn't cover right now. So this week, we're going to get right into it. And as always, make sure you hit that bell so that you stay subscribed and you get alerted to when I go live. At some point, this live streaming Today in Clinical Research will be regular. Right now, it's just once a week, maybe twice a week. So let's get into it and see if we can find some themes here. All right, let's see if we can find some actual themes in clinical research and how we could apply that to our careers or maybe just something interesting. So first one I wanted to get into is Cygnet Health, all right, which is formerly CRF Health and Bracket. So we do a lot of psychiatric rating scales, and we work with Bracket, CRF Health as well. They're a big vendor, and if you remember last Today in Clinical Research, the very first episode, we talked about vendors and how much money is actually being spent on vendors. So former Cygnet Health appoints Todd Everhart as clinical vice president to accelerate intelligent eCOA and predictive data analytics in medical clinical research. So these are electronic collected outcomes assessments. Basically, a lot of people in the industry at site levels will know it as ePros, so patient-reported outcomes, but it's also the investigator outcomes, the outcomes that the investigators collect. So when you hear us or me or anyone else in the videos talk about rating scales, okay, let me know what you know in the chats right now when you hear the term rating scales in psychiatric trials. And one that's in all trials, not just psychiatric, is the CSSRS, the Columbia Severity Suicide Scale. Okay, so that's an example of eCOA or COA, but now it's eCOA is the big thing, just like eSource. So this is important because Todd Everhart, okay, used to be. So let me see here. As a technology company, okay, so here's why this is interesting. Dr. Everhart is board certified in internal medicine and a fellow of the American College of Physicians with over 23 years of experience in the practice. Prior to joining Cygnet, Dr. Everhart held positions of Vice President of Medical Affairs and Medical Informatics at Chiltern and Covance, and most recently consulted independently in the areas of medical monitoring, medical data review, and physician adoption of technology. Okay, so this is the big one, right? Physician adoption, because what that means, if more physicians are adopting these new wave of technologies, that means the sites are going to as well. So he has worked in all phases of clinical development, and here it is. So what I talked about with the rating scales, okay. With Cygnet Health, Dr. Everhart will help accelerate the application of Cygnet's intelligent eCOA, rater training, predictive analytics, and other data quality monitoring products outside of CNS disorders. That's related. This is not the same company, but see, I'm showing you this so that we can catch the trend, and the trend is obviously technology and eCOA and everything and analytics and data. For those that have been watching and listening to the podcast, you know, I mean, you'd have to be living under a rock not to know that this stuff is coming. Not only is it coming, it's already here. Let me show you another crazy story. So I just wanted to open it up with that. Well, actually, let's finish. Dr. Daniel adds medical clinical trials, like CNS trials, require modulation of placebo response and precision in examination and measurement skills in order to succeed. So they're taking this rater training. Whoever at the site is in charge of collecting certain assessments that require expertise. They are looking for ways to standardize this in other indications, not just psychiatric trials, not just CNS trials. So Dr. Everhart will apply to internal medicine clinical trials many of the rater calibration, data analytics, and intelligent eCOA techniques that have positively impacted CNS trials. So for those, I mean, for us in CNS space is nothing new. Let me know what space of clinical research you're on. How's it going, Rod? So Rod, get ready for this, okay? This eCOA, this rater training is going to now come across all internal medicine clinical trials. So they're worried about data reliability, right? And you know, this is nothing new for me. I've been working in CNS since I started in 2000, but now it may be new for some of you guys and gals in the industry. So things are actually about to get more complicated in clinical research, not less. Not just the inclusion-exclusion criteria, but the actual conduct of the trials at the site level. Okay, I don't know if it's going to change necessarily anything at the CRA level with this particular story, but look at what's going on besides. And if you want to know who Cygnet Health is, you may recognize them as CRF Health or Bracket. They do e-consent, e-COA, patient engagement, clinical supplies. So basically, clinical research technology, they're a vendor. Here you see the buzzword again, patient-centric. All right. So why is this important? Well, it's important for a number of reasons. All medical trials now looks like are headed in the way of inter-rater reliability. Okay, so like I said, the people working in psych and CNS, they're already used to it. We'll get used to it now in oncology, immunology, cardiovascular. Just get used to more trainings for the sites. Okay, and they're trying to make the assessments and the people who are collecting the assessments at the sites more reliable and more standardized, more uniform, so that at one site, maybe you have somebody who's experienced in a particular assessment. At another site, maybe you have someone who's newer at that assessment. How would they rate the same patient in the same visit? That's called variability. All right, you want to reduce that variability, and we're all humans. The best way to reduce it is to have AI do it. We're not there yet. There's actually some stories we're going to talk about in regards to AI. But the next story I wanted to talk about, and then this is AI in terms of clinical trial recruitment. But the next study I wanted to talk to you about, or the next story I wanted to talk to you about, was actually pretty interesting. Also a little scary, a little creepy, right? So, a hidden gem. All right, this is from Outsourcing Pharma. A hidden gem, Emerald device, and let me know in the comments what you think, what you're seeing out there in the wild. Okay, so where is it? A hidden gem. Okay, MIT has developed an invisible device that provides several benefits over traditional patient data collection methods. So very much related, very much in line with what we spoke about. And this is going to be a theme of all these Today in Clinical Research episodes, right? We're going to look at different news stories and try to find the theme. There's common themes. These are all news stories recently. Okay, this one from Yahoo Finance was today. Okay, this one, as far as MIT and Novartis, July 23rd, so last month, all right? But we didn't talk about this in the last episode. So MIT has developed an invisible device that provides several benefits over traditional patient data collection methods, including improved biomarker development and the ability to detect changes in behavior by monitoring patients wirelessly and through walls. So this device is called Emerald, and it was developed by MIT, who presented at DIA last month. I didn't get a chance. I was there. I didn't see this. And her students at MIT Center for Wireless Networks and Mobile Computing. Okay. The device is available to pharmaceutical companies for use in research. So the creator of this device described Emerald as a Wi-Fi-like device that sits in the background and analyzes the surrounding radio signals with advanced machine learning algorithms. From these signals, it can extract various physiological metrics related to gait, mobility, breathing, sleep stages, sleep apnea, and others using machine learning algorithm, and it can do so through walls. So not sure how that works, but it sounds like sci-fi. The device is termed an invisible in that it uses wireless signals to monitor health metrics without requiring the patients to wear any sensors or devices. This can create compliance. So when you're requiring, because they have devices now where the patient wears a sensor. I actually used one when I did a test to see if I have sleep apnea. So you have to sleep with this machine on your face, and then there's another thing that goes like in your pocket while you sleep. So if you're supposed to do this every night, luckily for me, I only had to do it one night. But for some studies, if you're in a study and you have to, just as an example, this particular machine, all right, that can create compliance problems because you're not going to want to use it every night if you're a patient. That's not very patient-centric of that study, all right? So this thing is invisible and it's wireless. So who knows how well it works? Who knows if they actually did studies on whether it works? And who knows if the FDA is actually going to accept it? But MIT, pretty well connected, so chances are you might start seeing this in studies, right? This is important since patients already have medication adherence problems. Asking patients to do extra work could potentially exacerbate these problems. This is what the creator of the device, Dina Katabi. All right. Conversely, invisibles allow patients to go about their normal routines without any added burden, providing a unique opportunity to support at-home clinical trials. All right. So again, virtual trials, how to make the studies, bringing the studies to the patient. Who knows if the technology is actually going to work? If it's still blurry, let me know. Can you see? Maybe, hopefully, in the replay, it's not blurry. Let me know. In the next couple of years, it is likely that the device will be integrated in more trials and research potentially being used to manage chronic diseases such as COPD and CHF, enabling early detection and tracking changes in disease condition. So Novartis is involved in this. Okay. They collaborated with Novartis to explore the potential use of this technology. Individuals were studied for multiple days to compare data measured from Emerald with existing standards. All right, so let's see. The system was then deployed as part of a non-interventional trial with healthy volunteer subjects to see how the device would perform in a clinical setting. Let's see. So the potential to passively measure various physiological parameters, the device could enable researchers to measure quality of life measurements in the comfort of patients on home. So all these things that we talked about, okay, all these ECOA, patient-reported outcomes. Now you're going to get it here. Let me know, guys. Is the screen still blurry? And let me see those likes. Is it still blurry? Anyone else? Is it still blurry on your end? Let me know. Maybe I have to change the vendor that I'm using for the live streaming, the screen share. So this could allow us to tailor clinical designs that make participation easier. All right. And they're not talking about the results from the study, but it looks like trials. So monitoring patients in their homes, Emerald is able to provide more patient-centric endpoints and real-world evidence of a patient's actual quality of life. For example, diseases affecting mobility, such as Parkinson's and MS, use a 6-minute walking test in the clinic as an endpoint, which is not reflective of a patient's daily life. In contrast, observing the actual walking, balance, and activity levels of patients in the home is much more representative of the disease impact on the patient and is consequently of great interest to patients, payers, and the FDA. So apparently this device that they call the Emerald is very similar to an Alexa or a Google device where it just sits in your home and it observes. And this is where the privacy thing becomes very important because, well, I mean, we all know anyone with a smart device, you don't even need to use Alexa. Just a smart device in your home, like a phone or a laptop, it could be listening, it could be watching, right? So this is just another step. Like, will patients accept this into their homes if it means that they don't have to go to the clinic? Who knows? Who knows? And who knows if this actually works as good as a physician looking at the patient in the clinic, All right. If it's blurry, yes, I'm sorry. Hopefully the next story will not be blurry. All right. I don't know if that's the case or if it's blurry here. Um, Hopefully on the replay, you can actually read along with me. All right. So let's see. And then even further out, besides just observing, is the biomarkers, right? They could develop more sensitive biomarkers. The inability to observe meaningful and fine-grained metrics has limited some therapeutic areas to using endpoints based on coarse and infrequent events such as mortality, hospitalizations, etc. So by being able to observe the patient in their home, apparently this works even through walls somehow. All right. Uh, we'll see how it works, but pay attention to this. AI senses people through walls. They have a video here as well, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. Let me know if you guys can see the video being played. Let me know if you can hear it. This is how it actually works. And if you're listening on the podcast, I'll read it. Even if the person's on the other side of the wall, okay? Only wireless signals are used. The live video is just for illustration. A neural network generates a confidence map from wireless data. From this, a skeleton can be extracted. Using wireless signals mean it can see through obstruction. So right now I'm looking at a stick figure walking around. Apparently they're in a dark room. So you can just imagine, okay, this is a person going to use the bathroom at night or something, so they can measure sleep. This one, they can measure their gait, they can measure their mobility, climbing up and down stairs. How easy is it for them to do this? All right. Next up, creating 3D skeletons to capture even smaller micro movements. So we have a bunch of tech guys sitting around in a, looks like a startup. Well, they're at MIT. All right, so if you're interested, RF Post, what was that website? Don't know what that website is, but just Google Emerald MIT. Emerald MIT. Let me know if you guys could see that. Apologize if it's blurry. We're going to have to work on that. This is new live streaming for me. So anyways, pay attention to these things, all right? Pay attention. That's also another important story, all right? So we got through that one. Let's see. Communication during trials. Wait, let's go to this one because this is actually related, okay? Real-world data, evidence becoming more prominent in clinical research. So this came out last month as well. Real-world evidence, RWE, and real-world data are already being used in a variety of ways to improve patient care and search for disease cures. Policymakers agree that real-world evidence has the potential to meet the burden of evidence for regulatory considerations and may help to speed up drug approval. For instance, in March of last year, the FDA fast-tracked approval in the U.S. Of Blincyto, a second-line treatment for Philadelphia chromosome-negative relapsed refractory acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Came on the heels of a simple weighted real-world data analysis. This analysis found that adult patients with this rare disease who had enrolled in the single-arm phase 3 clinical trial and a case study follow-up went into complete remission. So this is all from the 21st Century Cures Act from December 2016, which was all about modernizing clinical trials, clinical trial design. This is when the risk-based monitoring kind of became popular. This is when patient centricity became popular. Guys, let me know if it's still blurry. If it is, we're going to have to fix this. Okay. Let me know. Otherwise, we can read along with it. Okay. So, real world data. This is just last segment, we talked about that as well. So being able to look back, retrospective, it also ties in a lot to these virtual trials where we're actually, there's some vendors, and I don't know if most sites are going to be okay with this, but some vendors are actually going into doctors' offices and plugging their system in to another layer of the doctor's EMRs so that they can have real-world data. And the compensation for the doctors is still a little funny, Like it's blurry, maybe as blurry as the screens that you're looking at. So I met with some of these vendors at DIA. It's interesting. It's definitely bold. I don't know if it's going to work, but certainly the industry's behind real world data, and I know there's applications for it. Apparently it's already happening. The FDA wants more of that. Again, not going to replace trials. I think it's going to allow researchers to design better trials and maybe even more trials. Okay, so something to pay attention to as well, and it all ties in to this data. AI improves clinical trial recruitment. So there was a study in an emergency department that shows automated patient screening eases enrollment. So this is from Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center. Clinical trials, they explain what it is. Researchers at Cincinnati Children's Hospital Medical Center designed and tested a new computerized solution that used artificial intelligence to effectively identify eligible subjects from electronic health records, allowing busy clinical staff to focus their limited time on evaluating the highest quality candidates. All right, this study is published online in JMIR Medical Informatics. It shows that compared to manually screening the EHRs to identify study candidates, so what I refer to and what the industry refers to as pre-screening when you're at an actual site, the system reduces patient screening time by 34% and improve patient enrollment by 11%. So these are real numbers. Okay, if you can improve enrollment by 11%, even if it's in a study in the ER, okay, the system also improved the number of patients screened by 14%. So this is it. This is important. Okay, busy emergency departments often serve as excellent location for clinical trial coordinators to find people who may be good candidates for studies, according to the study's lead investigator. Because of the large volume of data documented in EHRs, the recruiting processes used now to find relevant information are very labor intensive within the short time frame needed. So this is true. I tell people all the time, if you're trying to get in research, get in to a site, tell them you're a recruiter, tell them you're going to pre-screen their EHRs. They're obviously going to have to train you or have you sign forms or do some kind of HIPAA training. But then you can actually pre-screen, help them pre-screen and identify subjects. But now machines are actually doing this. AI is starting to do this. The system uses natural language processing, which allows computers to understand and interpret human language. Machine learning allows computerized systems to automatically learn and evolve from experience without being programmed necessarily. So this makes it possible for computer programs to process data. The automated system extracts the information, such as patient demographics and assessments, and then it identifies unstructured information from clinical notes, okay, to determine if the patient could be matched with a study. So this is interesting, right? And there's a lot more of this going on. It's not just that. Okay, there was another one. Let me know. Can you hear? What's the comments? Is there a concern of falsified or false AI-generated data with AI? Yes, of course. There's a concern with everything in AI. Nobody really understands it well, and it's all new. And even more than that concern, the concern I would have if I'm a physician and I'm allowing a virtual trial in my site, if they're installing any hardware or software and that affects my EMRs, okay, my patients haven't necessarily consented to a third party having access. Okay, even if they say they're HIPAA compliant and all those things, you're supposed to notify your patient. So the biggest concern is, yes, false AI generated data, those are errors can occur, but even a bigger concern is privacy and data breaches, and we've seen disasters occurring with that. So I don't know if this is this is probably too far ahead. Over the past 2 decades, hundreds of billions of bottlenecks boost availability. I'll probably end it with breastfeed instead of and here's the